All right, good afternoon. I'd like to call this meeting of the Santa Barbara Local Agency Formation Commission meeting to order. Can I get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Aceves?
Here.
Commissioner Allen?
Here.
Commissioner Freeman?
Here.
Commissioner Geyer?
Here.
Commissioner Hartman?
Here.
Commissioner Lavanino?
Here.
Commissioner Sierra? Here. Commissioner Stark?
Here.
Commissioner Waterfield?
Here.
Commissioner Welt?
Here.
Commissioner Williams?
Here. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the September 5th, 2019 meeting?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Aceves?
Aye.
Commissioner Freeman?
Aye.
Commissioner Geyer?
Aye.
Commissioner Hartman?
Aye.
Commissioner Welt? Commissioner Waterfield?
Aye.
Chair Lavanino?
Aye.
Motion passes 6 with 1 abstention.
All right, it's time for public comment. Do we have any requests to speak from the public?
Chair Lavanino and members of the commission, we have no requests to speak.
Mr. Seves?
Nobody from Santa Barbara.
Thank you very much. That moves to our consent calendar. Does anybody have any items they wish to pull, the item they wish to pull from the consent? Seeing none, can I get a motion to move the consent calendar?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Aceves?
Aye.
Commissioner Freeman?
Aye.
Commissioner Geyer?
Aye.
Commissioner Hartman?
Aye.
Commissioner Welt?
Aye.
Commissioner Waterfield?
Aye.
Chair Lavanino?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimous.
Okay, that takes us to our business items. Item 1, Madam Clerk.
Chair Lavanino and members of the commission, business item number 1 is the selection of alternate voting delegate for the LAFCO business meeting to be held at the LAFCO annual conference.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Hood, LAFCO Executive Officer. We did appoint a regular and alternate voting member at your last meeting, and Commissioner Geyer is the regular voting member for Santa Barbara LAFCO, and you also delegated Commissioner Aceves. We since learned that Commissioner Aceves will not be able to attend the LAFCO conference, and so I am recommending that you appoint someone else as the alternate voting delegate. And not to mention any names, but I have talked to Commissioner Welt about assuming that responsibility. And since the deadline was August 30th, I talked to the chairman as well. So I'm hoping that you can delegate a commissioner to remain unnamed as the alternate voting member.
All right, we'll go in reverse alphabetical order. Can I? Oh, Waterfield. I'm just kidding.
I was going to say I moved to motion. Well, since he did the same for
Roger.
me at the last one.
That's true.
Second.
Roger's nomination has been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Aceves?
Aye.
Commissioner Freeman?
Aye.
Commissioner Geyer?
Aye.
Commissioner Hartman?
Aye.
Commissioner Welt? Commissioner Waterfield?
Aye.
Chair Lavanino?
Aye.
Motion passes 6 with 1 abstention.
Congratulations. Okay, we'll move on to business item number 2.
Chair Lavanino and members of the commission, business item number 2 is to consider recommendations regarding the adoption of a resolution that will take the following actions regarding an election for the formation of the San Antonio Basin Water District.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I'll be brief on this matter. Your commission approved the formation of the San Antonio Basin Water District on July 11th. We held a protest hearing on August 30th, and we received 11 protests from landowners. There's 740 approximately landowners within the district, and I asked the assessor's office to check to make sure that the protests were valid. There was only one protest out of the 11 that was within the boundaries of the San Antonio Basin Water District, and so that means that there's less than 50% landowner by 1 vote per acre. So the next move is to place the items on the ballot that are on the agenda for you to consider. Firstly, the ballot measure, which we have prepared for you. Also, the impartial analysis that we have looked at with legal counsel and the county elections office, as well as the county counsel's office, and a supplemental resolution that adds some wording to the language that you will adopt today. We also added the LAFCO resolution in a supplement that we sent out to you in the last day or so, as recommended by county elections, that adds the resolution 19-3 that you approved on July 11th, as well as a map of the boundaries of the San Antonio Basin Water District. So there's 5 exhibits now rather than 3. So with that, I would recommend that you approve the items that we have sent to you, the revised Exhibit C, which is the supplemental resolution that Bill and County Council had a hand in preparing, Exhibits A and B, revised C, and a new D and E. And I would be happy to go over those with you if you have any questions, but it's pretty much what I outlined in my presentation, that it's the ballot measure, the impartial analysis, the supplemental resolution, the revised supplemental resolution, the old resolution that was approved on July 11th, and the map. And with that, I'd recommend approval. And the next move is for the commission to send the matter to the County Board of Supervisors and direct, I don't like to use that strong of a term, the County Elections Office to conduct the election. And my understanding is the election would be somewhere in April 2020, April 3rd, I believe. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, and legal counsel is also available.
Do we have any questions? Commissioner Hartman?
Yeah, I think this may be one for Mr. Dillon. I just wonder if you could explain number 5 on Resolution 1904. Just a little of the background there,
Sure,
so I understand
Commissioner
the
Hartman.
process better.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, those water code sections all pertain to elections held under the water code for a California water district. And all of them call for the results of the election to be submitted to the Board of Supervisors for final approval. And under the Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg Act, that role or obligation was assumed by LAFCO some time ago. So generally, Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg provides that if there's any inconsistency between it and any of the organic statutes like the Water Code, then the provisions of the Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg Act prevail. Yes, and I kind of thought this was obvious. We didn't really need to put it in the resolution, but elections, thinking it through, had a nice comment, which is, well, if by some chance we ever do end up in front of a judge and have to explain this, the code says it's as determined by LAFCO, the LAFCO provisions will prevail. So they would just like to have something in writing that they could point to, rather than lawyers arguing this from scratch. It's much better to have the administrative agencies just spell it out in the record. So it was a really good idea. We added it to the resolution. I think it would have applied. It would have been the result anyway. But it's better to spell this out and put it to bed. So that's all there is to that.
And just to add a little bit to that, is that the county election certifies the election results and presents those to the County Board of Supervisors to tally the votes that are assembled. And then LAFCO, at the last meeting, we had the Coyama Basin Water District. We met the same day for the commission to approve the certificate of completion, which is a LAFCO role. We don't certify election results, but we do approve the certificate of completion, and then we file that with the county recorder's office, and that becomes the effective date of the formation.
Is there any public comment on this matter?
Chair Levanino and members of the commission, we have no request to speak.
Do we have anybody in Santa Barbara or any questions from Santa Barbara? Or a motion from Santa Barbara?
No questions, nobody to speak, and I move approval.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Seves, second by Commissioner Welt. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Seves?
Aye.
Commissioner Freeman?
Aye.
Commissioner Guyer,
Aye.
Commissioner Hartman,
Aye.
Commissioner Welt, Commissioner Waterfield,
Aye.
Chair Lavanino.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimous.
Okay, let's move to our informational items. Informational item 1.
Chair Lavanino and members of the commission, informational item number 1 is to receive and file a report on the 2019 Cal LAFCO Annual Conference.
Mr. Hood.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, we went over this Cal LAFCO conference agenda and program at the last meeting, so I'm going to keep reminding you that the conference is rapidly approaching at the less than a month away, in fact. And so we are looking forward to having a pretty good turnout for the conference. Staff will be attending and several commissioners. Unfortunately, Commissioner Seves will not be able to make it this time, although he's been very good about attending Cal LAFCO meetings and conferences in the past. So I've given you the program, and I went over it fairly in depth last month. But we're going to be in Sacramento October 30th through the 1st, and some of us are going to attend the mobile workshop, which is still a work in progress, but we will be happy to report back to you when we return from the conference at the November meeting, which will be, I think, 6 days after the conference ends. So we may have to talk about if we need to have that meeting or not, because there won't be much time to prepare the agenda packet. But we will be discussing that as we come closer to the deadline for the November 7th meeting. So unless you have any questions, I think our travel arrangements are pretty well set. And some commissioners are driving, some are flying, and the accommodations have all been set. So I think we're pretty well ready to go. So if you have any questions.
Very good.
Answer any.
Anybody have any questions?
I do have a question.
Mr. Stark.
Yeah. Can you say in general terms what the mobile workshop is? It sounded like it was a housing project.
Not really clear on what it is specifically, but I do know that, you know, they plan on going out to the Delta and looking at some agricultural projects, if they're housing projects or not. Haven't seen the complete outline yet. I did sign up for it, so I'll be able to tell you how it went. But usually they're very informational. The one in San Jose last year was very, very good. And we did one in Yosemite that talked about how forestry was impacting, you know, all the fires that they've had. And I thought that was very, very informational. So I'll be happy to report back to you when we return. I don't think you're going to be on the mobile workshop.
Thank you. Where you're waiting.
Commissioner Hartman.
I just wondered who all is going. I went last year and it was really, really a great conference. So I just wondered who I could
Well-
lean on to go to certain sessions that I can't attend this year.
Well, it's I'm going as your executive officer, and Bill Dillon, legal counsel, Jay Freeman, Craig Geyer, Cynthia Allen is going, Shane Stark, and Roger Welt. So we had have a really good turnout.
All right. Sounds like fun. So I guess that takes care of the informational item. We'll go to commissioner and staff announcements. Why don't we just start in Santa Barbara? Does anybody have a commissioner announcement or request for future agenda items?
Not from here, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody here want to bring up anything or agendize anything for the future? Probably because we had such a long meeting, you guys don't want to talk about anything else. All right, let's go to executive officers' comments.
As you know, we have your commission has nominated Commissioner Waterfield to run for the Cal LAFCO Board of Directors, and we did. The chairman signed the application, the nomination papers, and Etta and city manager and myself worked on the resume, which was very impressive, to be honest with you. And there are some, she has some competition, but we're hoping for the best and that she will be, now that she's nominated, will be elected to the Cal LAFCO board. So that is something that I think I sent you yesterday, an informational item, just to make you, bring you up to date on that. We also have had some interesting discussions in the past month or month and a half, weeks with Montecito, community of Montecito, that I mentioned that I met with the Montecito Water District about possible consolidation of that district. And about 2 weeks ago, I met with the Montecito Sanitary District, and they're also interested in finding out the process. Not that they're have taken a position on if they want to be consolidated or reorganized, but they did want to know the process. And I outlined to them in what started out as a usual 20-minute and turns into an hour and a half with questions about how that would work if they decide to do it. So I did that, and I'm waiting to hear back if they want to do anything with that. And again, last year I escaped meeting with the grand jury to talk about LAFCO, but they called me yesterday and asked me to come down and explain what we do as the LAFCO Commission. And so the date is November 21st, and it's going to be in Solvang at the county courthouse.
Are those open to the public?
No.
They're barely open to the grand jury.
Yeah. And I have to sign an admonishment when I go in that I will not repeat anything that I heard or said when I go in to meet with them. So I think that's about it. That's all I had.
Commissioner Hartman.
Oh, well, this is just an observation from my experiences that many people come to me as a Board of Supervisors member thinking I have some control over special districts, or as a LAFCO board member thinking I have some control over special districts. So I think when you speak to the grand jury, maybe they can better understand that and help us get that across.
Commissioner Well.
Mr. Hood, you're going to talk with some folks from Montecito. How many districts are you talking to?
Well, there was basically there's 3 districts. There's the sanitary, the water, and the fire district. All of the representatives, the managers, and board members from those districts, not all of them, but particularly from the last one I went to, which was the sanitary district, and the previous one was the water district. All the board members, it was a board meeting, basically. And the fire district had some representatives, as well as the fire chief that talked to. There's school districts that are not impacted. There's county agencies that are not impacted by those districts. But, if there is a consolidation or a reorganization, it could extend out into areas that are not in both districts. If it's, the fire district, the water district, or all 3 districts, the sanitary, because some of the services go down into Summerland and to Carpinteria that are provided by some of those districts. So one of the specifics that was discussed, and one of the things that I wanted to know about, if this ever gets, to see the light of day, is what would the boundaries be, and who's going to decide on that. So my strong recommendation is that they retain a consulting firm like Isla Vista CSD, like Los Olivos CSD, that would look at all the options, do a financial analysis, and present them with their alternatives as far as a reorganization or consolidation. So that's, that was my strong recommendation, because it's not something LAFCO does. It's something that the LAFCO staff and commissioners would have a hand in selecting a consulting firm, but it would be paid for by the applicants.
Did those 3 districts, did they come to you?
Yes. Yes, they asked me to attend.
Commissioner Hartman.
Is consolidation easier than creating a new CSD? I mean, they already have budgets, so I know the process is probably the same, but the financial piece of it may already be taken care of.
Well, it's there's 2 separate processes, and I have talked to them about what a reorganization is. First of all, it's forming a district, like a multi-service district, like a CSD, Community Services District, and dissolving existing districts. And then you would have a new district that would be the successor agency. So that's a reorganization. Just formation of a new district and dissolution of existing districts. Now, consolidation is different, because you would have an existing district that would take over the services of the current districts. And it would be, say, for instance, it would be the the county Montecito Water District that would assume the services of the Montecito sanitary district and potentially the fire district, although the fire district could be left out. And the interesting part about this is that some of those districts don't have the authority to provide services that the current districts provide. For instance, the water district, the sanitary district, I take that back, does not have the authority to provide water services except for recycled water. So it's not a new provider of services. I may have that backwards, but there's one district that's thinking about the water district basically can provide water services, but the sanitary district cannot provide water services except for recycled water. So there's also some question about what happens to the reserves that are collected for the sanitary district that have been paid for by the ratepayers. If the districts are consolidated or reorganized, can those reserves be spent on water services? It's a very complicated legal issue because the answer is probably not. If those the sanitary district services have been provided for maintenance and upgrade of the sanitary district services, that if those could be spent on water services is probably not going to happen. So if they're looking for like a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow to consolidate those districts, does that mean that they would get additional revenues to provide services, say water services, that they don't have now? And the answer is probably not.
What happens to those reserves in that case?
They stay in the sanitary district fund, a reserve fund. So that would be transferred over to a new district and can only be spent on those services.
All right, one more comment, because I think we might be getting into almost, this has been our longest agenda item so far, so.
I actually have a quick technical question. Well, that's a two-parter technical question. The first part is, am I correct that irrespective of whatever combination of service delivery districts there are, the residual overall police power and the obligation to provide affordable housing within its boundaries remains with the county? Is that right? And the second question is, am I not correct that at some point LAFCO may see this, but it would have to follow an application by somebody? I mean, right. We're not required to step in at any time prior to getting a petition of some sort.
That's correct. And the way I explained this, and I had a PowerPoint that I can send to you if you're interested, is that there is, okay, I'll send it anyway. No. I'll send it to everybody.
PowerPoint corrupts content.
There's 3 steps. And basically, as I explained to each of these districts, there's an application to LAFCO, and that requires a map and legal description. It requires the financial analysis. It's a staff function that we get a complete application. Secondly, it goes to the commission for a hearing, and the commission votes to approve, deny, or request additional information. Or if it's denied, that stops the process. If it's approved, then it goes to an election, and it goes to a protest hearing before the election. And so we just had the one for the San Antonio Basin Water District. If it's over 50% protest, it terminates the reorganization. 25 to 50% protest is an election. So then it goes to the election, and if it's a registered voter election, which this one would be, over 50% of the voters need to vote in favor of forming a district, and also vote for the board of directors of the district. 5 people would run for office. Then if that's approved, then we file a certificate of completion, and the reorganization is complete.
All right, that was Reorganization 101 and 102. Okay, so with that, are there any other items anybody wishes to bring forward? Seeing none, we'll adjourn to Thursday, November 7th in Santa Barbara.
So I called you at some point, but I didn't get through, and then I.
Thank you.